Bulubulaka Fiji, and welcome to Gold FM Speak Your Mind. And today we touch on an issue that's quite important to many of us. We hold education, with at the palm of our hands, so we like to say. And for the first time ever in the in the last few weeks, the Fiji employers and industries and higher education institutions came together to discuss issues relating to higher education and to the higher education sector in our country. And this industry and academia collaboration was held from the 7th to the 8th of September, 2 days early this month. And I'm grateful to be joined by the Fiji Higher Education Commission's Epi Rawalai. Welcome to the show, Epi. Now, this Fiji Higher Education Commission, not many people are too familiar with the commission. What is the role of the Fiji Higher Education Commission?
Well, the Fiji Higher Education Commission, we are being mandated by government to look after the higher education sector in the country. Particularly, let me put it this way. The Ministry of Education, we work closely together. We report to the Minister of Education as well. The Ministry of Education looks at primary education and secondary. We look at the tertiary or the higher education industry, education sector. When I say we are being mandated to regulate, we regulate the higher education institutions. So we make sure that all institutions who call themselves as higher education institutions are registered under the Fiji Higher Education Commission. So when I say higher education institution, Pedeli, I am referring to any institutions that confers an award or that confer an award, like a certificate, a diploma, and other awards.
Would these include those small schools or computer schools and
all those computer schools? When they give out a qualification or confer a qualification, they should be registered under the Higher Education Commission. We are just 5 years old, and if you look back in the past, like for 10 years ago, you see any computer school in any town, anywhere.
That's right. Yeah.
Giving out any qualifications, which does not mean anything at all. So we are there to regulate. Okay, so far, we have regulated around 26 institutions. And also the institutions, they go through recognition first. Once they've been recognized, and they are registered, fully registered.
So any Fijian can ask these schools, those who are offering awards, to ask them whether they have been
their status. That's
their
right.
Status.
They have every right to ask, have you been registered?
Okay.
So if they are not just registered, I can say they illegally exist.
Okay. Now, FHHC has played a major role in organizing this industry academic collaboration meeting. That was held on the 7th to the 8th. This 2-day affair. A lot of very important issues were discussed.
That's right, Pedeli. Okay. We are there to look after the higher education sector, and we want to lift the game.
That's right.
In that sector. So for the past how many years, the industries or the employers and our higher education institutions, they've just been pointing each other.
Yes.
Okay, across the table.
There's been a lot of finger pointing.
It's a blaming game between these two parties. So for the first time, we are bringing them together to talk. Okay, so the industries continue to complain. Before the 2 days conference, they're saying that the quality of graduates coming out of our institutions do not match their expectations. So I'm talking about, the skills, expectations. And then the higher education institutions are blaming the industries for this and for that. So what the Higher Education, Fiji Education Commission has finally done is, for the first time in our country, bring these two together, these two major parties, the employers and the higher education institutions and other stakeholders during the 2 days meeting to talk about the issues relating to the higher education sector.
Now, before we even touch on that too, the Fiji Higher Education Commission also involves many of these representatives from both sides, the industry and the institutions, to be part of various boards that sit and that form also the commission. Is that correct?
Yeah. Right. For the commission, Pedeli, we have the Fiji Higher Education Commission board, where we also have representatives from the industries, and then within that board is the secretariat that does the work. And then also we have the Fiji Qualifications Council that looks at specifically about qualifications, which is another thing that exists within the Fiji Higher Education Commission.
Okay. So apart from the standardization of the various schools and institutions for higher education, there's also the qualifications.
Right. There's also qualifications. And it is important that we understand that we in Fiji have a Fiji qualifications framework. This is where all the standards and all the qualifications are being registered. And through this framework, we linked ourselves to the Pacific, to the region, and to other countries.
You know, that's been a question for many Fijians. They've always felt that institutions just gave themselves these standards
Right.
so that it would look good for their particular award or certificate that they would give. No, there is a
Right.
standards.
It's part of the game to lift the quality. Quality is a buzzword in the higher education sector. So we do that. We register them, we recognize them, we register them for the sake of quality. We set the standards, and they have to live up to that standard. And we also, as part of that, on the framework, we have is the term accreditation. Their programs have to be accredited. So when they are accredited and registered on that, then their programs are recognized. Apart from that, there are other ways, but there is a national framework that does the
that.
job. Right.
All right, thank you very much, Epi. We'll continue with a discussion on higher education and our situation here in Fiji, right here on Gold FM Speak Your Mind. Feel free to also call in with your questions and comments, 3220-906, 3220-907. Our lines on Gold FM Speak Your Mind are now open, and feel free to also send us an email at goldfm@mbc.com.fj. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and we continue talking about, the standards of our higher education system, and we have the representative from the Fiji Higher Education Commission with us, Mr. Epi Rawalai, who had just been, very succinctly explaining the role of FHEC and also the, standards and various other qualification standards that each institution must meet. Now, let's talk about the specific conference that we had touched on. 2 days, and between the industries and the various representatives from the different institutions. So how did it go? How did it fare?
I would say that it went well, Pedeli. So it's quite a hard task to get these industry people to come and be there for 2 days, because they are always
They gotta
on
make
their
the
work.
money. They have to
Right.
make the money.
Right. They're always on their work. But good to know. 2/3 of the participants are from the industries, and we have representatives from all our higher education institutions in the country, and other stakeholders are there to give their blessings, like the government. Okay? And as I've explained, we bring them together to create synergies, okay, between the industries and the academic providers. And we just would like to ensure, Pedeli, that Fiji would like to have high quality and relevant graduates that are being to be produced.
You mentioned quality quite a bit.
Right. When I say quality and relevant graduates, we are here, the Fiji Education Commission. On one side of the table is the higher education
Higher
institutions. We are asking them, okay, we are looking into them. We want to see that you produce quality graduates. Quality graduates in the sense that and also relevant in the sense when they go across to those who are going to give them jobs, who are the employers, the industries, these people, they are satisfied with what is coming across from this side.
At this time, there's been a lot of dissatisfaction.
There has been a lot of dissatisfaction. That's why we brought the two major parties together to come and talk about this. So for us, the national picture is quality graduates. We want Fiji to be the hub of the higher education sector in the region. Okay, but we won't be able to reach that. First, we have to clean our house first.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we want to see that we have quality graduates, and quality graduate means quality institutions and quality programs.
Okay.
So we want to see that whatever is being done here, when our graduates go across to the working field, they are satisfied. But in the past, that is not the story.
Would you say that this has started to change?
From after that meeting, I would say the parties are satisfied with what we have started.
Okay. Now, how rigorous are the checks with the Fiji Higher Education Commission, with the institutions?
Okay. I would say that, resource-wise, we don't have a lot of, the staff resources. It's quite a hard job, Pidel, because first of all, these institutions are far older than us. We are just 5 years old, and we are there as a regulating body, and we are doing our best to see. So they know our role. We are happy that the institutions, the employers know what we do.
Are they
And this-
cooperating?
They're very much, yes, they do. So we are, on the road trying to, for our advocacy to get the people of Fiji to know about us, because we are there not only to protect the interest of the nation, but the interest of our citizens, of the people, as well as the interest of these higher education institutions.
That's true, because industries are also pay a levy to government, 1% levy. Yeah? And yet they to retrain these graduates.
Okay, that's their common sentiment. Before we had it industry, they are always saying, these graduates coming out, they only have about 40%, of the skills that we require. There's a big mismatch, and yet we have to come and retrain them while we are paying 1%. This is when we are trying to bridge them.
Now, I'm sure we'll be hearing from the industry representatives quite a bit on this particular issue later on the show. But now you say that the attempts also by the Fiji Higher Education Commission to get more Fijians to know about the commission.
Yeah.
Now, how have you been doing your advocacy work apart from working with the institutions?
Okay, apart from that, Pideli, we've been out on radio shows, with road shows, talkback programs, especially with FBC on your radio.
How
but
well have you?
I think we still have to do more. But we are happy that we are getting responses from the public.
What kind of response?
Like when they have an issue with students, when they have an issue in the institutions and they want to lodge a complaint, we are receiving them now.
So what kind of complaints can...
Okay, so we are there to receive, we are there to, if there is any issues with regard to higher education, with regard to the institution, with regard to probably a lecturer or cause, because we are there to protect their interest. So they can contact us either through Facebook or...
There is a Fiji Higher Education Commission Facebook that is also online, and also you have an email address. Can you? Which is the email address?
Okay, it's fhec@fhec.com.fj.
All right, very simple. And you may also contact the officers on the phone numbers.
Very, very easy phone number to remember: 31 000 31.
31 000 31. Now, also feel free to call us if you got any questions. 3220906 and 3220907. We're live in studio with Mr. Epi Rawalai from the Fiji Higher Education Commission. And now, the two-day meeting that you had with the industries and representatives from the institutions, what is the step now for the Fiji Higher Education Commission?
Well, we have a communique drafted, and after presenting the communique, the industries and the higher education commission, they want it solid and short, and they wanted more of it to be an action plan, not something that is just there as a written thing, but something that they said will, move the country forward, lift the standard of higher education in Fiji, and they are highly requesting that this meeting to be constant. Yeah.
So there definitely will be more. Does it look like it's going to be an annual meeting, or
we'll have to design on that? It's either annual or biannual. So
biannual.
There has to be a decision to be made on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm purposefully not touching on what came out of the meeting because I've been waiting for it right towards the end, just so that we can touch on briefly before the representatives from an institution, the Fiji National University, and also from industry that is going to be on the show later on. Well, in the next segment. And thank you again to you, Mr. Rawalai. And Mr. Rawalai will also be joining us in the latter segment of this show. But stay tuned. More questions. If you'd like, 3220906 and 3220907. Call us up in studio. And also you can send an email to goldfm@fbc.com.fj. This is Gold FM. Speak your mind. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and we continue our discussion with the state of affairs with not only higher education, but also the placements of our graduates after they've graduated. And I'm very glad to be joined this afternoon by, Fiji National University's Aki Simabo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And also representative from industries, a familiar face and name, Mr. Humphrey Chan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, both of you were part of the two-day conference, and the first time it has been done, having the institutions, the various higher education institutions, sit together with the representatives from industry and the workforce to chat or to talk about issues relating to the workforce, especially graduates. I'll ask you first, or should I ask Mr. Chan first? How did it? Is this the first time, and how did it go for you?
Well, I think the first time consultation like this is good, and I think we should have it maybe annually or biannually, but whatever way we're going to have it, it is a means of passing on information from one to the other. You know, the thing that impresses me during the consultation is the fact that we talk freely. And, you know, we can hear from what other people have to say and what we have to say in industry. We don't necessarily all agree the same thing, but we get the message across, and, you know, hopefully that somebody will take it on board.
At least the ideas are there.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
Ms. Pavo?
Yes, I agree. And I on behalf of the Fiji National University, thank the Fiji Higher Education Commission for organizing and facilitating this collaboration workshop. For too long, there's a lot of finger pointing. And so it's important to come together. Dialogue is important because we want to move the country forward. It's decisions that are made at these forums, good feedback to government in influencing the policies that they put together for the betterment. I'm not much of a pessimist. I'm a person who loves to, an optimist. It's more about continuous improvement,
Now, you mentioned continuous improvement, and that's also the gist of much of the work that we try and excel. Mr. Rawalai had mentioned quality. Yes. And this is, a very important key word for especially potential employees and employers. And looking at the state of affairs, a small study was done prior to the conference, to the two-day conference, by the FHEC, and resulted in, it was revealed that 80% of the graduates that were, potential graduates who are about to graduate, students that were about to graduate, still had no idea what it is that they wanted to pursue in terms of a career. Now, do you have that feeling for you in the industries?
Well, particularly, I mentioned this at the for the record, that somehow, somewhere along the line, there's a gap, and that gap, I think, is none other than the career path. And, in the career path, in the early part of the life of a student, they must make up their mind which way they want to go. If I can just give you the stream where the Japanese follows, if you're good at maths, you go this stream. If you're good at mechanical, this way, and so on, And in that way, you are trained and properly trained for a given perspective of the job that you are earmarking for.
Find what is you're good at and pursue that particular area.
Yes.
Yeah? How do you feel?
Well, I'll take it right back to secondary school. You see that what happens for Career Expo, you have 6, 7 farmers going, and usually they are rushing through the booths, during Career Expo. Whereas I'll relate my personal experience is that our time at secondary school, we had mentors that came from industries, people who wanted to do law. You had good qualified lawyers would come and speak. And so to me, that was quality time, quality interaction. And also, even when at our time at uni or when my son was there, we had the mentoring program. And even at tertiary level, you have the peer mentoring, but that's more towards, the program they have actually started. My suggestion would be is that not just take it right back to third form. Start the career talk. Ministry of Education must reintroduce the career talks that they used to have back in the 70s and 80s, where people would come into the schools programmed, and they come and speak to third and fourth formers, and they start telling the students there, or just beginning to give them an insight into what occupations that's available, or what they should start thinking about. And maybe if Ministry of Education working also, because they're part of the arm of government, there's skills shortages already there, right? Government knows it. They have information, they have stats to identify areas that needs training in. So they can easily turn it around into marketing those programs to students way back, Form 3, Form 4, and talk about what's there, what's attractive there, to sell it to the students.
Oh, that's very interesting that we should start having these. That's a very valid idea. How do you feel about having these representatives in schools?
Really, you started by saying quality.
Quality,
Now,
that's right.
quality doesn't start at
Tertiary level.
this level. Quality should really start from teachers' training, because unless the teacher taught the proper thing to teach the students will not get it right. So important as that, the training, but unfortunately at this consultation, I don't think we touch on that subject. And I think this is one area that we should touch on to make sure that the teachers are themselves properly trained, and they are to set examples for the students to follow in the long term.
Do you feel that? Do you feel that the quality of teachers that
Well,
we have?
currently, I might say, if I have seen some pictures of some schools taking place, I don't think they are model. They're not model. They should be model, for the students to follow in the long term.
As someone from the higher education, how do you feel about this the statement from Mr. Chan, and also from your experience with students coming into tertiary level? Is there still a gap?
It's like a production line, right? For us at tertiary, it's the output from the secondary that we take on. So a general observation has been, which was a comment made by the minister, is the quality in maths and English. That is the main concern now. I mean, and with the current technology, Facebook, people have abbreviations, and that's really factoring and affecting. A very interesting comment also was made at the two-day collaboration by a person there, a professor, when he mentioned, government should be strict too on these providers of
Internet providers.
not just internet, I mean, Digicel, Vodafone, where they have all-night chat given, those kind of things. Because what you sell that to the students, they are there on that rather than doing homework research. And what happens at the end of it, you find tired students. You can't even teach them. So I don't really think the blame is to be made to the teachers. At the same time, ongoing upgrading of qualifications, because then we would be undermining the quality of teachers that is recruited. Okay, you have basic teacher training, but then continuous upgrade for teachers, especially in maths, science, which is really a concern now for us who are taking in the output from secondary school.
All right. Mr. Chan, you want to add on?
With the technical school that is now been built into the country, teachers have got to upskill themselves more so than ever before. Because you have people who are in industry who knows what they are doing, and also knows more than the teachers themselves, because they haven't got through that kind of experience. So the teachers have now got to be upskilled themselves.
All right. On that note, we'll take another short break here on Gold FM. Speak Your Mind. Welcome back to Gold FM Speak Your Mind, and we continue with a discussion, a really interesting one that's turning out about higher education, and also about graduates and those who end up in the working places, and the difficulty that some of these recent graduates encounter and also affect the productivity of particular industry. And with me in studio, continuing our discussion, Mr. Humphrey Chan, representative of industry, and also from the Fiji National University, Ms. Akisi Mabua. And now let's talk about something that was also highlighted at the two-day conference, and that is apprenticeship. Mr. Chan, I'm going to give it to you and allow you to shed some light on this discussion.
Okay, apprenticeship is very important in that is a training in a systematic way of training, unlike the other short courses which you do, which you don't necessarily go through the proper system. But in apprenticeship, you get different levels: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. In my days, it was 5 years apprenticeship. Now it's been reduced to something like 3 years, somebody was saying. But, you know, I think gradually they were coming down from 5 to 4 to 3. But I think 3 years is too short, and the period of 3 years, you know, you don't learn enough to be qualified. In my time, when I served a 5-year apprenticeship, after even 5 years, I still need more training, you know, and so I learned it on the job, by the way, and I sacrifice myself in some way that I do private job in those time without receiving pay, but I like it because I just want to learn the trade.
But in many previous years and the practice that was, and I'm going to throw to the Fiji National University in a short while, but in the practice that was, in order to fulfill your qualification credits, you needed placements. Yeah? You needed to be at a job practice, especially for trade. And that continues with the Fiji National University, yes?
That's right. That's
And
right.
Now, with the industry at this time, with the 3 years, do you feel that it's still not, you said that your view is that it is not fulfilling, but with the actual productivity of industry
Yeah,
in Fiji?
the 3 time frame has just, I think, been changed without consultation to the with the industry. That is not good, because you know you can't change a program like that without consulting the industry. The industry must know whether 3 years is sufficient or not sufficient. We are saying not sufficient. All right, but let me just go back to some other area in apprenticeship. Apprenticeship, I think, falls now under the FNU. I think it's in the wrong hands. It's what we should be doing now is to establish another body called the Productivity Association or the Productivity Commission. Now, that Productivity Commission should handle apprenticeship and also handle the training levy. Now, the training levy, if you asked earlier on,
Yes.
you know, I
What
think
percent being paid?
yeah, we are not getting our money worth. You know, we are paying a lot of money in terms of training levy, but we don't get much back. You know, in industry, each employer is doing training within their workplace, but it's not recognized and can't get any grant back. So I think the system has to be changed to allow for on-the-job training within the industry, so that you know, after all, every one of us in industry, we are also training our trainees or our workers.
And you're investing a lot,
Right?
in them.
Yes, but we don't get anything back. So that is also wrong.
Ms. Mavua,
Well,
the Fiji National University stand?
Yes, it'll probably go right back to when the 7 institutions came together to form the Fiji National University. Now, FNU is only about 5 years old, so there's got to, you know, what we identify as really teething problems, and we're trying to work our way around it and talking with the stakeholders. But I think the point raised by Mr. Chang is quite valid, and the TPAF, government and the stakeholders, powers that be, must rethink and relook at the role of TPAF, because when TPAF was TPAF, it was all okay. It was clearly outlined what they needed to do and the roles they carried out in the apprenticeship scheme. But when it came under FNU, there's, even up until now, there's still some gray areas to be ironed out. So I will leave it to the political footballers to come up with it. Yeah, but right now I know it's a hot topic, which I really do not want to elaborate on.
Well, Mr. Chan, how do you feel about the work that TPAF is, well, not PTFF, but what is now
FNU.
At FNU? You've already stated that there's not enough, there's still some, well, she stated that there's gray areas. How do you feel?
Well, I think the quicker that we can form the Productivity Commission, the better. Because in the Productivity Commission, there's a lot of things that we can iron out. Right at this very moment, we all know that productivity in Fiji is very low. And so we need to do something to improve on productivity. And productivity, like I said earlier, that if productivity takes over the running of the apprenticeship, that would be great, and also take control of the training levy, that would be great.
Okay. How do you?
What was important about the 2-day collaborative workshop that we had with all stakeholders was the industry were quite strong in saying they want apprenticeship reintroduced and how important apprentices were, right? So instead of, but I think Mr. Cheng's concern was taking it from reducing the duration from a 5-year to a 3-year, 2-3 years. Everyone agreed. You know, there was unanimous decision by all stakeholders. Yes, the importance of bringing back apprenticeship, but who's going to administer it? I think that will probably be in the process of what we're going to talk about, and also that was just a starting. We hope that we would all come together again to discuss that. Right.
So that's very important to have another meeting. Now, just before we wrap up, I'm going to ask this next question: the need to promote the training, vocational, educational training. TVET. Now, how in Fiji? Was this discussed during the 2 days meeting?
That's right. TVET, right now, TVET is not only important, TVET education and training is not only important nationally, but regionally and internationally. There's so many forums now that's talking about the importance. I'll speak for Fiji. There's a few forums that we've set in even with government at the Millennium Development Goals finalization. Skills shortages have been identified, skill shortage areas, and it's important to be focusing our training there, the training providers, especially FNU. But the thing is that government's got to support us in this, because it has been identified at national level. There's a skills shortage there. However, we need to be putting our money where our mouth is, because we need scholarship for TVET, for trainers. We need the upgrade of facilities for TVET also, and also to change the mindset of the general population, because right now they are tagging TVET to failures. Which is not.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for this. Sadly, we've run out of time on the show. Thank you again for joining us. So, Mr. Chan, would you like to any final remarks? We know that you want apprenticeship back. The industry really thinks that this will help raise the productivity in Fiji, correct?
Yep. I think what industry wants is improvement on the training. And so far, we have seen a lot of people coming for interview, coming with certificates. You know, we in industry don't care so much about certificates. What we want is performance. The guy who comes in there asking for a job must be able to perform. If he can't perform, all the certificate means nothing to us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chan. Thank you very much, Ms. Mavo. And again, that wraps our discussion on higher education.
Walk it.
Right here on Gold FM, Speak Your Mind. Welcome back to Gold FM, Speak Your Mind, and from higher education and placement of productivity in the level of productivity in industry, we now move to a specific sector, SMEs and SME awards that are coming up in November. And here with me from the Fiji Development Bank is Mr. Lotte Ramboila, excuse me, and he will be telling us a little bit more about the awards and the importance and significance of this. Welcome to the show, Mr. Lotte.
Mbulabinaka Pedeli, and thank you for allowing us to come and promote this annual event by the Fiji Development Bank.
Now, this is going to be held in November, and how important is this to our small business enterprise entrepreneurs?
Thank you, Pedeli. This is a very important event by the Fiji Development Bank. It is a recognition mechanism for small and medium enterprises and likewise farmers. This is an event that we've started way back in 2004, and this was relaunched last year in 2014 as the Small and Medium Enterprise Awards. Now, initially it was launched as the Small Business Awards. The difference is that we've now increased the category from between 30,000 turnover to 100,000. Now we're including from 30,000 annual turnover to 500,000. So small and medium enterprises entities that operate within this amount, from as low as 30,000 to as high as 500,000, you are now eligible to enter the Small and Medium Enterprise Awards organized by the Fiji Development Bank. Now, what is attractive about these annual awards? The awards itself is if you want to enter, it's free. So when you enter, you do not have to pay for anything. Say, take for example, you're operating as far as Yasawa. If you are chosen to be one of the finalists during the awards night, we actually pay for your trip over to come to the awards night, stay the night during the awards, and your return trip, including your allowances and everything that you would spend money to make the trip. That will be paid for by the Fiji Development Bank, and likewise its sponsors.
Now, the criteria that you mentioned, are those the only criteria, or?
Basically, the business has to be, first of all, it has to be a legal business. It has to be a licensed business. If it's a farmer, you need to have a lease. So you need to have a title that's under your name. The business has to be 100% locally owned. The business has to be has an operating annual turnover between 30,000 and 500,000. The business has to be operating more than 12 months. So within that 12 months, you would at least have some financial records. These are some of the areas that we'll be specifically looking at. And there are other areas like number of employees. Business need to have employees between 5 to 50 people. So these are some of the areas that the Fiji Development Bank will be looking at in terms of assessing individual applicants.
When do the applications close?
The application closes in September 22nd, which is next Tuesday. We launched this event on the 20th of August. So it's between 1 month, the running of the actual entries. We close the entries next week, and then we do the assessment until the lead-ups to the awards.
Now, some business owners incorrectly may assume that this is also just open, these awards are open only to clients of the Fiji Development Bank.
Yes, thank you very much, Pedeli. That's one of the draw cards to it. The awards is actually open to all businesses, all small and medium enterprises, our entrepreneurs who meet those basic criteria, whether you're an FDB client or not, you're farming or you're doing a small business, you're eligible to enter these awards. Whether you're financing yourself, you're being financed by another financial institution, that doesn't matter. As long as you meet those basic criteria, the awards is open for you.
Now, just before we wrap up, Alote, if you could just highlight, some of what has gone on from some of the winners from previous years, and how great this awards is for them.
Okay, small. All businesses have to start small. Whether it's going to be a household name like the Tapus Groups, Kundan Singh, at one stage they were small, and some of these small businesses, without naming any specifics, have done so greatly ever since the awards. Since 2004. Now, just a classic example. Unfortunately, this lady had passed on. One of our former winners is the lady that designed the Fiji Airways logo. That's just a simple example to see how these awards has prompted businesses to the next level, to greater heights.
Okay, and once again, you can send in your applications to
any FDB branch near you. We have 12 branches in Fiji. There's one in Suva, Nosori, there's one in Rakiraki, Mba, Lautoka, Nandi, Singatoka, Sabu Sabu, Nambuwalu, Sianganga, Lambasa, and Taviuni, and also to any of our sponsors. And those are Reserve Bank of Fiji, Crest Chicken, Fiji Times, Sun Insurance, LICI, New India Assurance, Fiji TV, Vinod Patel, Quality Print, and Redox.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramboil, for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Pedeli.
And good luck to the awards.
Thank you.
And on that note, we wrap up this segment of Gold FM Speak Your Mind.